If you look at photographs of women from the 1960s, one thing becomes immediately apparent. Their hair had an architectural quality that seems completely lost to time. It was not the flat, sleek, straightened hair that dominates modern beauty standards, nor was it the heavily curled, uniform ringlets of the 1980s. It was a cloud. It was a halo. It was gravity-defying volume that looked effortlessly glamorous, but actually relied on a highly specific, almost scientific set of styling techniques. Today, we have access to more hair products and tools than ever before, yet we struggle to achieve the kind of root lift and all-over body that women achieved half a century ago with nothing more than a few metal tools, a can of hairspray, and a little bit of elbow grease. The secret was not in the products they used, but in the methods they employed. These methods vanished from mainstream beauty routines as blow dryers became more powerful and flat irons became the default styling tool. However, these banished 1960s hair tricks are not outdated. They are based on the fundamental physics of hair, and they still work flawlessly today to give you perfect, lasting volume. The very first, vanished trick, lies in the lost art of preparation. Modern women often wash their hair, apply a heat protectant, and immediately begin blow drying. In the 1960s, this was considered a recipe for flat hair. The first trick is the application of mousse to completely dry hair before adding any heat. Today, we think of mousse as a wet styling product meant to be scrunched into damp hair to create waves. But in the 60s, women used early versions of styling foams to add grip to hair that was already clean and dry. When you apply a lightweight mousse to dry hair and then blow it dry again, or set it, you are essentially creating a microscopic web of friction between the hair cuticles. This friction is what allows the hair to hold a shape without collapsing under its own weight. If your hair is too soft and slippery, no amount of teasing will keep it up. By taking a golf ball-sized amount of modern volumizing mousse, working it into your completely dry roots, and then rough drying it with your fingers until the foam is no longer wet, you create the perfect grippy canvas for volume. Once the canvas is prepared, we move to the most misunderstood technique of the era, backcombing. When most modern women hear the word teasing, they picture a chaotic, damaging process where a comb is violently dragged down the hair shaft, creating a tangled, matted mess that is impossible to brush out at the end of the night. This is not how women in the 1960s achieved their volume. Their method was precise, deliberate, and actually much gentler on the hair. The vanished trick here is the 3-stroke back comb method combined with a very specific type of comb. You must use a fine-tooth metal comb, not a brush, because a brush stretches and breaks the hair, whereas a fine-tooth comb simply pushes the cuticles backward in a controlled manner. You take a section of hair at the crown, hold it straight up, and place your comb about 3 or 4 inches away from the scalp. Instead of pushing down to the root in one long, aggressive motion, you use 3 short, firm strokes. You push down 2 inches, pull the comb out, push down another 2 inches, and pull the comb out again. You never force the comb all the way through the tangled section. This creates a cushion of air and structured volume at the root, rather than a horrific knot at the ends. You only backcomb the bottom 2 inches of the section you are working on, leaving the top 3 inches completely untouched and smooth. This is the secret to 1960s volume. The volume is hidden underneath a perfectly smooth surface layer of hair. After the hair is properly backcombed, the next vanished trick comes into play, and it is the absolute key to making the volume last all day and night without falling. Modern women rely heavily on the heat of a blow dryer or a curling iron to set a style, but heat alone fades within hours as the hair cools and reacts to humidity. The 1960s secret was the use of Velcro rollers combined with the hot-to-cold shock method. Once you have backcombed your roots to create that cushion, you take sections of the hair, pull them up and over, and wrap them around large Velcro rollers. But the trick is not just in the rolling, it is in the temperature manipulation. You take a blow dryer with a concentrator nozzle, set it to high heat, and you heat the roller for about 30 seconds until the hair inside is genuinely hot. Then, and this is the crucial step that most people skip, you clip the roller in place and immediately hit it with the cold shot button on your blow dryer, or you simply leave it alone to completely cool down to room temperature. Hair is a polymer. When it is heated, it becomes malleable and takes the shape of whatever you wrap it around. When it is rapidly cooled in that new shape, the hydrogen bonds in the hair harden and lock that shape into place. By taking the time to let those rollers cool completely, usually about 20 minutes, you are setting the root lift in a way that a blow dryer alone could never achieve. When you finally remove the rollers, the hair does not just fall, it bounces. While the Velcro rollers are cooling, we can look at another technique that has entirely vanished from modern styling: the strategic use of pin curls to control flyaways and ends. Today, if a woman has frizzy ends or wants to tuck the ends of her hair under for a vintage flip, she will use a curling iron. But a curling iron creates a very uniform, sometimes stiff curl. In the 1960s, stylists used metal clips to create pin curls on the very ends of the hair while the rest of the head was set in rollers. If you want that perfect, bouncy flip at the bottom of your hair that frames the face so beautifully, you do not need an iron. Once your hair is wrapped around a large roller for body, you take the very bottom half-inch of the hair that is hanging out of the roller, wrap it flat against your scalp in a circular motion, and pin it flat with a single prong clip. When the hair cools and you remove the clip, the end is forced to curl upward or under. But because it was pressed flat while cooling, it has a smooth, glossy finish rather than a tight, spiraled look. It perfectly mimics the ends of a vintage roller set and controls every single flyaway without adding unnecessary heat damage to your most fragile ends. Now comes a part where most modern attempts at vintage volume fail miserably: the finishing. You have your gribby base, your perfectly cushioned backcombing, and your cooled, set roots. If you touch it now, it might look a little crazy, a little too wild. The vanished trick of the 1960s is the art of the smooth over, and it requires a specific tool, a 100% boar bristle brush. You cannot use a nylon paddle brush or a detangling brush for this. A boar bristle brush is unique because the bristles are so fine that they can penetrate the smooth top layer of your hair and actually reach down into the backcombed cushion without pulling the entire structure apart. You do not brush from the root to the tip. Instead, you place the boar bristle brush on top of the hair, about an inch above the teasing, and you gently, using very light pressure, smooth only the surface layer down over the cushion. You are essentially plastering a smooth, glossy shell of hair over the volumized structure underneath. As you do this, the hair will magically transform from a messy, teased cloud into a smooth, flowing wave of volume. If you create a dent or a hole while smoothing, you simply lift the hair up, give it a very light mist of hairspray, let it dry for 2 seconds, and smooth it over again. The boar bristle brush also distributes your scalp's natural oils down the hair shaft, giving the smooth top layer an incredible glass-like shine that contrasts beautifully with the massive volume beneath it. The final vanished trick is related to product application, specifically how hairspray was used in the 60s compared to how it is used today. The modern instinct is to spray hairspray directly onto the hair from a close distance, soaking the strands to freeze them in place. This creates a heavy, crunchy, unnatural texture that actually weighs the hair down over time and destroys the soft, movable volume you just worked so hard to create. In the 1960s, hairspray was applied like perfume. The trick is to hold the can at least 12 to 14 inches away from the head. You do not spray it directly onto the hair. Instead, you mist it into the air above your head, letting the fine, dry particles fall down like a gentle snow onto the surface of the hair. Alternatively, you can spray the hairspray directly onto your boar bristle brush and then use the brush to gently smooth the surface of the hair. This deposits a microscopic amount of resin onto the flyaways, taming them and adding shine without wetting the hair or collapsing the backcombed root structure. You're using the hairspray to polish the finish, not to glue the style together. The actual hold comes from the structural techniques you used. The cooling, the backcombing, the grip of the mousse knot from the chemical weight of the spray. If you want to apply these tricks to a modern, everyday look without going full 60s beehive, there is one more vanished technique that translates perfectly to the modern half-up, half-down hairstyle. Modern half-up styles often fall flat at the crown because there is simply not enough hair gathered in the clip to create volume. The 1960s trick is the hidden volume anchor. Before you put the top half of your hair into a clip or a tie, you take a small section of hair right at the very front of your hairline, apply that dry mousse trick, and backcomb it heavily using the 3-stroke method. You do not put this section into your ponytail or clip. Instead, you leave it loose at the front. You gather the rest of the top half of your hair, secure it, and then you take that loose, backcombed front section and gently drape it over the top of your secured hair, smoothing it with your boar bristle brush. It acts like a canopy. It creates the illusion that your entire half-up style is massive and voluminous, but in reality, the volume is entirely supported by that one hidden, backcombed anchor at the front. It is a brilliant optical illusion that takes 2 minutes but looks incredibly sophisticated. Another element of 1960s volume that we have forgotten is the direction of the blow-dry. Today, most women point the blow-dryer nozzle down the hair shaft to smooth the cuticle and create shine. While this is great for the bottom half of your hair, doing this at the roots guarantees flat hair. The 1960s trick for washing and drying is root direction manipulation. When you're blow-drying your hair at the roots, you must physically move your roots in the opposite direction that you want them to fall. If you want volume at the front of your face, you must blow-dry your front roots straight back, away from your face, while heating them. If you want volume at the crown, you blow-dry the hair at the crown forward, toward your face, lifting it straight up. You heat the hair in this unnatural position, and then, just like with the rollers, you let it cool in that position. Once it is completely cold, you can gently push it back into its natural falling position. But the memory of the hair will force it to spring up and away from the scalp. It is a temporary chemical change in the hair that costs nothing but a few extra minutes with your blow dryer. We also must talk about the role of sleep in 1960s hair care, which brings us to the vanished trick of the satin scarf wrap. Women in the 60s did not wash their hair every day. They went to the salon once a week, got a complete set, and then maintained that style for 6 or 7 days. To do this, they relied on the physics of friction. Cotton pillowcases create immense friction, which pulls the smooth top layer of the hair apart, creates frizz, and flattens the backcombed cushion at the back of the head. To prevent this, they would brush their hair out at night, gather it gently at the nape of their neck, and wrap it in a silk or satin scarf. Satin has an incredibly low coefficient of friction. It allows the hair to slide against the pillowcase without disturbing the hydrogen bonds that were set by the rollers. You can do this today. Before you go to sleep, do not put your hair in a messy bun on top of your head, as this stretches the roots and destroys the lift. Instead, gently brush it, wrap a satin scarf around it like a gentle turban, and sleep on a satin pillowcase. When you wake up, you will not have to wash or heat style your hair. You simply undo the scarf, use your boar bristle brush to reactivate the style, give it a light mist of hairspray from a distance, and you are out the door. The volume will actually look better on the second day because the natural oils from your scalp have weighed down the very top surface just slightly, giving it a richer, deeper shine, while the structural volume underneath remains completely intact. It is fascinating how the beauty industry has convinced us that we need dozens of different products, root-boosting powders, thickening sprays, volumizing shampoos, hot tools with rotating barrels to achieve what women in the 1960s achieved with a simple comb, a boar bristle brush, and an understanding of how hair behaves when it is heated, cooled, and manipulated. We have traded technique for technology, and in the process, we have lost the ability to create lasting, beautiful architecture with our hair. By bringing back these vanished tricks, gripping the hair with dry mousse, using the gentle 3-stroke backcomb method, locking in shapes with the hot-to-cold roller method, smoothing only the surface shell with a boar bristle brush, and applying hairspray like a fine mist, rather than a liquid, you are not just doing a retro styling routine. You are utilizing the fundamental, unchangeable science of keratin. These tricks still work today because human hair has not changed. The physics of a hydrogen bond in 1965 is exactly the same as the physics of a hydrogen bond today. All you have to do is put down the flat iron, pick up a fine-tooth comb, and trust the architecture.